Good morning. Come on. Good morning. There we go. Welcome to the last day of this year's Conference of Champions. Wow, last night, huh? Was that incredible or what? Such amazing stories, such amazing entertainment. Our dear friend Matt Eisman, actually to be clear, this is not Dennis Ehling standing in front of you. This is Matt Eisman impersonating Arnold Schwarzenegger, impersonating Dennis Ehling. He's so much better at that. It was truly an amazing evening. We learned so much about our organization, but more importantly about all of the volunteers, all of the awardees who worked so hard, so passionately, and tirelessly to pursue a cure for arthritis and continually going above and beyond for people with arthritis. We are so very, very fortunate to have such committed, impassioned people as part of our organization. I'd like to share a little bit about my own story, why I'm here, how I ended up in this place as part of this organization. I actually started with the Arthritis Foundation about 12 years ago because I wanted to do a bike ride. Some of you may have heard we have a bike ride every year down the California coast called the California Coast Classic. All right. An amazing ride. I got involved because I had two friends, both of whom were heavily involved with the ride, and they said, you know, there's this organization. They do this ride. It seemed like a great challenge. I needed to do something, so I said, okay, I'm going to get involved. I'll buy a bike. I'll get on my bike, I will do this ride, because I can do this. I got on the ride thinking I was, frankly, a champion. I made it. I actually survived 8 days riding down the coast, San Francisco to LA. Anyone who knows, it's all downhill, right? San Francisco to LA. Dave Shuey, he's done it a couple of times. Dan Hurley over there, he's done it a few times. It's all downhill, it's easy. It wasn't until I got involved that I really started to learn about why we were doing it. As I'm riding, as I'm patting myself on the back for actually getting myself there and getting up every day and getting on my bike, I started to hear these stories. And as Matt said last night, it is the stories. And it was the stories that caught and moved me. In particular for me, it was the stories of the children. Met some incredible, incredible children who were struggling but really overcoming, working their way through diagnoses that, frankly, if I were them, I'd have been completely flattened. And these very strong, very motivated, very impassioned children and their parents and their families were persevering. And it motivated me like nothing ever had. So not only did I come back year after year, as I say, I'm now on my 12th year of doing this bike ride. I actually just completed my 12th year. Oh, come on, 12 years riding my bike down the coast. Thank you. But I also started to really get to know these families and became close with a number of them, including my very good friend, Rhiannon Carter, my other good friend, Alessandra. Beautiful, beautiful children who have to suffer with juvenile arthritis. That got me involved. And after about 4 years of riding, I finally raised my hand and said, I want to be more involved. And after I got more involved and I joined what was then the Pacific Region Board, I'd been part of it for a couple of years, and my job was just to keep the bike ride going. Somewhere in the middle of that, I get a call one day from my wife, Peggy. Many of you met her. She says, I was just at the doctor, that thing with my wrist. He wants me to go see a rheumatologist. All of a sudden, it hit me. This wasn't just something I was doing for others, something I was involved in because it was a good cause. This was something very, very personal. And so began getting deeper in, learning about the drugs, the medications, the side effects, learning about the uncertainty, not knowing, is today going to be better or worse than yesterday? Is this disease going to get better or worse? or stay where it is? The question that Peggy always had when she would come back from that tremendous, tremendous care. We were very fortunate to be in Los Angeles, and it was easy, with the help, by the way, of the Arthritis Foundation, to find a just really great rheumatologist. But there's always the question, is this as good as it gets? Peggy used to say all the time, I'm okay with this as long as I know this is as good as it gets, that I'm supposed to hurt this way. I shouldn't expect anything more. If that's it, that's fine, but just tell me. Well, I think we've all been there. We've all seen it. Is this as good as it gets? Does it get better? Does it get worse? That uncertainty, those questions. And we had, thank goodness, the Arthritis Foundation family to fall back on. That was what gave us comfort, gave us support, gave us hope. And it's an incredible, incredible, as many of you know, to have that support and that hope from the Arthritis Foundation family. And so if we were committed before, we were doubling down, we were even more committed, and we could never walk away. And so you want to know what my passion is? My passion's Peggy. My passion is the bike ride. Just ask Ann. She knows I never stop talking about that bloody bike ride. And my passion is the kids. It's Rhiannon. It's Alessandra. And so what's my purpose? My purpose is not settling. Strange way to put it, but think about it. I refuse to settle. I refuse to let Peggy have to ask that question, is this as good as it gets? No, we are going to find a cure. I refuse to let those beautiful children like Rhiannon and Alessandra say, is this all my life will ever be? Will I have this my whole life? No. We are going to find a cure. Now, come on. Every time I say cure, we need an applause. And I refuse to settle for the question of the Arthritis Foundation, is this all we can do? No. We can do so much more, and we're going to hear more about it today. We're going to learn more about that today as we continue through our Conference of Champions. We have a really, really special treat today. A good friend of the foundation, amazing Broadway star, Ana Villafañe, has just agreed to come be part of us today. Before we bring Ana up, I'd like to show just a short video, learn a little bit more about Ana and her connection to us.
They use the word chronic. So when you hear that your child has a chronic illness, you're thinking, how do we deal with that? So it was very scary. If it wouldn't have been for the Arthritis Foundation, honestly, I don't know what I would have done.
The Arthritis Foundation has always been an incredible feeling of home. That's, I think, what empowered me the most, was meeting other kids who, had my same condition, and some who had it worse, some who had it better. Like, you'd see all the different levels, you'd learn from each other. I think the foundation was a source of refuge. It was a source, it was like a safe place. It was where everybody knew what I was talking about. It's where everybody knew what I was going through, and you didn't have to explain yourself. Because believe it or not, what we've been through is more of a source of strength than a source of limitation. And the moment that switches in your head and you just accept what you've got, then there's literally no stopping you.
Watching Ana and evolve as a person and enter her dream, which is the world of entertainment and acting and all that goes with that, has been a blessing. It has been an opportunity for us to grow as a family, to be inspired by one of our own, and to realize that anything's possible despite the limitations.
I think I'm still becoming a champion of yes. We all are. It's always like it's still a process and everybody's still growing. My message of hope is to be determined and smile and stay strong. Be bold, be brave, and be a champion of yes.
From that one moment in my life, I'm gonna be stronger.
So without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the stage Ana Villafañe.
Good morning. I never operate at these hours. It would only be for the Arthritis Foundation, I kid you not. I landed at midnight last night from LA. I was supposed to be here yesterday, so I apologize for being here late, but I'm Hispanic, that's what I do. And there's nowhere I'd rather be. In fact, I've had a cold for the last week, and my arthritis flares up. As one knows, my body is a bit more sensitive. And while pre-boarding my flight out of LA last night, I mentioned that I was pre-boarding due to my arthritis. I was like in sweatpants and, sneakers, whatever. And the man, it's like insane to me that this still happens, but the man like looked down at my legs and goes, "Are you sure about that?" And I was like, I must have had some crazy expression on my face because he immediately was like, "I'm just kidding." and that moment last night, I was like, oh, this is exactly why I'm getting on this plane, because this is ridiculous. But, the thing is, it's not funny. The whole invisible disease thing can be such a double-edged sword, but that's exactly why I needed to be here, because what's happening here makes a real difference, so I'll start at the beginning. I had a systemic onset when I was 7 years old and was hospitalized for 3 months. Fever of unknown origin. Doctors had no idea what I had until I was finally being discharged one day, and they noticed my knee. That night I heard the words polyarticular juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, because this was back in the day. And my life has never been the same, nor the life of anybody around me. After some homeschooling, I was eventually able to go back to school. Wheelchairs and crutches were the norm until we found the perfect cocktail of drugs to keep me stable, which now, well, even then, is naproxen, methotrexate, and at the time, Enbrel. But I was a very energetic kid, so while bedridden in the hospital, I had nowhere to put all that energy. And I found a means of expression in calligraphy, of all things, which was really random, and it turned into drawing and painting and the arts. So once I was back in school, I was even more frustrated, mostly because adjusting was really hard. I was in 2nd grade, and kids thought they could catch something from me, or, I was like that weird girl who did she die? We don't know. And one day in the hallway, a 7th grader actually said that to me. I was going to the bathroom, and this girl, I'll never forget, Stephanie, she was like, "Oh my God, I thought you died." And I was like, "No." So it was weird. And that's when the Arthritis Foundation stepped in, and camp literally saved my life. I went to Camp Fundraise in Miami, Florida, and every year, without fail, every summer, it was the best week of my life. All of a sudden, there was a safe place where I was not the weird one. There, when I was 9, I started developing the confidence to perform. While I would paint and draw, art teachers had noticed that while I would do it, I would sing, just to myself. And they would tell my parents, "Oh, your daughter can sing." And my parents "Well, great, that's not gonna get her a job." So, joke's on them. But, so I'm at camp. And there's talent shows, there's, all the different activities for whatever you're interested in, and to really develop you as a whole person, while learning about your condition and not being the only person taking meds at breakfast and getting a shot and whatnot. So it was a very big game changer. And the singing thing wasn't really front and center for me until the talent shows. And that's when the Arthritis Foundation noticed and started asking me to sing in public, which at the time I was like, I am Celine Dion. This is it. Like, I am so good. But obviously, you know, a little kid who can sing like at these kinds of things, like that's going to be cute for fundraising. So I kept doing it. And eventually, as a kid who has a voice and whatnot, the only real place to do it is in musical theater. So I started doing musical theater camps, and then I did my first professional show when I was 9 years old. By mistake, because my parents had a friend who was a professional actor in Miami, and he was like, look, can Anna come do this show? We need kids who can sing. And I was in 4th grade, and my parents were like, absolutely not. Like, theater people are crazy. She's a little kid, and plus she has this condition. But he coerced them, said that his daughters were going to be doing it. So I did my first professional equity musical, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, at 9 years old, and that was it. I noticed that you could be somebody else on stage. I learned from these professional actors that you could tell somebody else's story, and it became like an invisibility cloak for me, because that insecurity, or, you know, the little girl who didn't really know where she could fit in because of all these random elements in my life, all of a sudden had a means to do whatever I wanted. It was like a get out of jail free card. So I'm 28 years old now, and that eventually led to a career as a performer, which 20 years ago, I never would have imagined standing here and having that be a true statement. So let's talk about that. I was signed my senior year in high school. I was 17. I was doing a musical called Cats. And if anyone is familiar with this show, it has a lot of different characters with different personalities. I wanted to be the sexy cat who dances and has fun on stage, not exactly the lead, but definitely the more fun role. Plus, I had been in and out of a wheelchair throughout high school, so I wanted to show that I could actually use my body. And that was a major frustration, like growing up, was, you know, how can I prove to these people that I'm able to do more? But of course, I got cast as the old cat who's pretty much disabled and has to cry and be all dramatic. So I was frustrated, but my personal experience and that level of experience gave me all the depth I needed to actually excel in that role. Turns out I got to sing the most famous and memorable song in Cats, which is Memory. And the video still exists on YouTube and haunts me to this day. But I was signed to management due to that performance and taken out to LA. I flew to LA and I was signed immediately, which was crazy. And the problem was I could not move unless I learned how to self-inject. So I had suffered from a lot of PTSD, post-hospitalization and all of that, and I was terrified of the concept. My mom had actually learned how to give me my Enbrel, and that was the only way that I could do it. And still, even then, like, I would like shudder at the thought. But my determination was pretty solid, so many tears and failed attempts later, I did it. And at the time it was Enbrel, but now I'm on Humira biweekly. Fast forward, I moved to LA, do all the Taco Bell commercials, get killed by several gangs on all the like crime investigation shows. And then I get my first movie. I was in Canada shooting a Lifetime movie called Hiding. I thought I was gonna win an Oscar. And out of the entire shoot, I only had a flare on one day. By this point, I had already developed a good enough relationship with the crew on set and whatnot. And over our lunch break, I asked if I could just take a nap. We were shooting in like what was my character's bedroom that day. And I just opted to take a nap in the room instead of go with everybody to craft services and to the catering, whatever. One of the women on set who had become quite close to me by this point came in and she was really concerned, and you know, she was like, but what's going on? Is it like the time of the month? What's going on? And I was like, no, well, you know, in full disclosure, Julia, I have arthritis and I'm just having like a really rough day. To which she was like, oh, you know, I knew something was wrong with you. And I was like, cool, you're fired, whatever. And so, so from that point forward, I became very scared, professionally especially, because that's my issue now, is how do we, not only, obviously the research for a cure, that's like the #1 thing, but how do we empower these kids and teach them the tools and like, in a professional setting, when do you bring it up? When do you not bring it up? Like, it's a thing, adjusting into the quote-unquote normal world. So from that point forward, I never brought up my arthritis on set or in any work situation. Moving to LA was a chance to start over. These people had never seen me in a wheelchair. These people didn't know my family or what we had been through. I was just Anna, which was very refreshing. And then Broadway happened. When I got the job to originate the role of Gloria Estefan on Broadway, I knew that I had gotten my break. It was one of these things that you can't really explain. And this was it. I was chosen to play a cultural icon and a total rock star on Broadway in New York City. And it was my first Broadway audition. And what's crazy is she chose me herself. So there was no pressure. And after a grueling audition process, I was so happy that my dreams were finally coming true and that nobody was looking at me like I was lesser than. And then it hit me. Live theater, 8 shows a week, and dancing for 1,600 people every day, sometimes twice. I might have to tell someone about my arthritis. So, Gloria and Emilio Estefan invited me to dinner the week before rehearsal started. They flew me out to Miami, and we had one of their restaurants on South Beach completely reserved just for us. Like, what do you wear to that, first of all? But, but as the night progressed, we're drinking wine and talking, whatever, and I'm like completely, the most professional that I could possibly be. But Gloria started being surprisingly open with me. She was giving me a lot of very deep personal information and backstory, and that's when, I don't know, it was a very strange thing. She just immediately felt this connection with me, and she kept on telling me that, but I didn't really understand why. And that's when she asked me for the one thing she has ever in my life asked me for. In 1990, as some of you know, Gloria Estefan was paralyzed due to a spinal cord injury from a horrific bus accident. And she had to go through a lot of rehab and physical therapy to get back on stage. Gloria, international superstar, was begging me, a random girl that she had just met, to not play the victim when it came to portraying her after the accident. That was the one thing. She didn't care about anything else. And I could sense how important this was to her. So I had some more wine, and I took a risk. I was like, well, here's why I would never play the victim in that situation. And I explained and confided in them about my arthritis. So she just stopped and stared at me. And she kind of squinted her eyes, and in that moment I was like, I'm fired. They're gonna find a healthy girl to play the role who can jump and dance, no problem. They're gonna completely recast, or at least double cast, or have me do 4 shows a week or something. Instead, she grabbed my hand, looked me in the eye, and said, oh, so I can trust you. And that moment, to this day, it gave me the strength to play the role for 3 years and for our entire run on Broadway. Ironically, the show is called On Your Feet, and this was my first experience ever. This was also the first time I moved to New York, which, if any of you are familiar, I moved to 42nd Street between 8th and 9th Avenue, which is not what you do. But in my mind, I'm like, 42nd Street, yes. It was horrible. In the show, I sang 18 songs, and I did the full 8 shows a week. Mostly now, stars, they do 7 shows a week, 6 if you're Bette Midler. It's a very laissez-faire thing. If you're there, you're welcome, and if not, your understudy goes on. But I was 8 shows a week. I did 8 months without taking any time off. I had weekly massages, acupuncture, and physical therapy to help me through. I would also get glutathione IVs every week. It was great. As well as working out every single morning. At the age of 25, I had performed dancing on The View, The Today Show, Good Morning America. I opened the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and sang at the White House. At the age of 26, I won the Theater World Award for Best Actress and was honored by the US government for the National Hispanic Foundation for the Arts. This past summer, I was awarded the New York Community Achievement Award, which was presented to me by the New York Yankees, my friends. The Wall Street Journal, the craziest part was that then the Wall Street Journal called me Broadway's Iron Lady because of my perseverance throughout the run and for being there the whole time, which is just not a thing. And this was the same kid who couldn't go to gym class. This was the same kid whose mom had to give her the shots. The same kid who didn't get accepted to any musical theater programs because of the dance requirements. And I say this all because those aren't even my proudest accomplishments. On the 20th anniversary of my diagnosis, I had an idea. I reached out to the publicists of the show, and I was like, hey, what if we did like a program type thing because of the inspirational elements of the show and get on your feet, to bring kids with disabilities to the show for free. You know, and we can like go on the shows and like I can talk about my experience and get especially kids with arthritis starting there, and then hopefully like it can open up to anybody who's going through anything. And the show publicists, which I love for the record, but the show publicists were like, yeah, well, you know, we need you to appear strong. And I was like, cool. So I called my publicist, and he did reach out to the New York chapter of the Arthritis Foundation, and we did reach out to kids and families. And I personally, because I did not get clearance from producers or the show, because I needed to appear strong, I personally paid for all of these kids and a group of 25 young adults plus one each to come see the show. And when it came to the kids, thank you. And when it came to the kids themselves, I felt bad because when I was growing up, and you know, the Arthritis Foundation would provide me with all these like ridiculous experiences, such as camp or the national conferences or whatever it may be, and it was always like a +1, and I would have to like choose between mom and dad or like not bring my siblings. I'm one of 4, so it was a little awkward sometimes. And so I kind of made it on a case-by-case basis, like per kid, how many tickets did you want? So some kids it was 4 tickets, some kids it was 2. So it was an interesting choice, but it was the best money I've ever spent for sure. And it was just the most incredible performance because knowing they were out there watching me perform was so healing for me. And the connection I felt from on stage was something I can't put into words because the thing is, I am still one of those kids. I say all this because my goal is to change the narrative. We need to continue to empower kids and young adults suffering from arthritis in order for them to believe that this is actually a superpower. And we have a broader perspective and a deeper wisdom due to this condition. I started getting all these letters. I started getting all these, like, whether it was direct messages on Instagram, which I never really read. It's always like these like random guys from wherever being like, hey. And, but I go through them periodically because if it's anybody who mentions arthritis or anything of that nature, I actually do respond. And so it became this crazy thing. I'd have families come out from wherever and I would, of course, bring them backstage, bring them on stage, do whatever I could to meet them and to give like one-on-one time after watching the show to these kids, and like parents crying in my dressing room being like, how do I do this? My child is 6 years old and I can't see her suffer, and things like that. And I realized that the Arthritis Foundation gave me, or led me at least, to my passion, right? And in turn, now that I'm doing that, it's given me a ridiculous purpose, because this is all great, it's all fun, I love a sensible red carpet and whatever, but this is what's important to me. And it's amazing because it refuels from all, sorry, I'm not allowed to say this probably, but from all the bullshit. Because that's the entertainment industry. And so it really does refuel me and give me a purpose. And so I want to thank the Arthritis Foundation and everyone in this room. And like you all in here, I am deeply and forever committed to this purpose. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow. So I don't know about you, but I've just seen what strong is. Indeed. Thank you, Anna. Wow. You truly are a champion of yes, and we are very, very proud to have you as part of our family. You know, Anna talked about her history, talked about the meds that she was on. We've all been on and been around people with their meds, going all the way back to the days of gold injections and methotrexate, and then the biologics. Such really great progress has been made in fighting this disease, and the great treatment options for arthritis. But there's still treatments. They're not a cure yet. There is so much more ground for us to cover. And I'd like for us to just take a moment, watch a video, and learn a little bit more about how the Arthritis Foundation is conquering childhood arthritis by revolutionizing JA research.
Arthritis doesn't just affect adults. Nearly 300,000 infants, children, and teens in the U.S. live with juvenile arthritis. Instead of just going to school, enjoying friendships, and having fun, many kids have to endure intense pain, frequent trips to the hospital, and dozens of complicated surgeries. While there are treatment options today, we simply don't know enough to personalize the treatments to meet a child's needs. So it's an endless carousel of medications, pain, and procedures, resulting in wasted time trying to identify the right therapies that manage disease progression. And for parents, the current system is a constant source of stress, questions, and concern about the impact this will have on their child's long-term health. The Arthritis Foundation is committed to ending this trial-and-error approach and minimizing the uncertainties of medical care, while we also improve the way healthcare is delivered to children with arthritis. We are revolutionizing JA research and care through major partnerships, aggregating a nationwide network of patient data to provide options never before possible, along with investing in an expanded registry, research grants, and clinical treatment protocols. We're also engaging patients and their families in research, creating an improved standard of care so that kids have more pain-free days and fewer hospital stays. Families will take comfort in knowing their child is receiving truly personalized care that will make a difference in the quality of their life. We want every child to spend less time suffering and more time doing what's really important, just being a kid. But none of this will happen without your financial support. A real change to the future of arthritis is coming. Will you be part of it?
Now I'd like to introduce Ann McNamara. Ann is the Arthritis Foundation Senior Vice President of Revenue Strategy. She is impassioned, as anyone who talks with her knows, and committed to building smart, innovative programs that will help us achieve our goals. Ann is going to spend a little time updating us. She's going to bring us up to date on our major gifts campaign and then introduce some upcoming initiatives and programs that will take our volunteer efforts to the next level. Help us identify new corporate partners, and naturally attract more people to support our cause. Ann McNamara.
So good morning, everybody. All right, so yesterday, I got to meet Matt Eisman for the first time. Matt and Matt, I guess one might say. And we had a fabulous conversation around what are we going to do in 2018? How are we going to ramp up fighting, finding a cure? And we had all these alignment points. But what I didn't realize is how immensely aligned we were until Matt started last night. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm starting at the same place with stories, right? And even Dennis today started with stories. Because the stories of the individuals with arthritis, like Anna just shared with us today, are where we get our inspiration, where we say we can and we must do more. It's where we think about, could we maybe double our revenue for all of our mission work? And then it's through that inspiration that we have to find innovation. Because we know we have to do things differently, we have to add new opportunities, and that's what we're going to spend some time together on today. So you guys ready to kind of dig in and see what's kind of new coming out? What do you say? So we're going to start with our Major Gifts campaign. Be the one. I'm going to say this, and I love hearing this. First ever inaugural nationwide Major Gifts campaign. That never gets old saying that. Come on, guys. So be the one. Like everything at the Arthritis Foundation, we start with volunteers at the core. And this initiative is led by a nationwide volunteer committee. And all of them were in the room last night. I know some of them had to escape for early flights today. But the committee members that are still here this morning, will you please stand up? I just love working with these guys. They are so passionate, so dedicated. Where I know I saw there, okay, all right. And I want you to know we do have just a couple more spots. So if you want to get involved, see one of those guys, okay? So as we think about the campaign, $25 million. $25 million. Now, 15 million of that is going to be in cash contributions so we can start this amazing work, and 10 million in planned gifts so we can continue our rich legacy of planned giving. We have been known to be one of the best in the industry. And throughout the conference, you've had a chance to view the videos of the 4 revolutionary scientific agendas that this work will be funded by the campaign. So I want you to pause and think. Did one of them resonate with you more than the other? Do you see how they all fit together to do what the end of each video really says? The future of arthritis is coming? Have you reflected to say, do I want to be a part of this? I hope you're all saying, heck yeah, this is amazing work that we are taking on. And the goal of the campaign is to just do that, resonate personally with individuals and give them an opportunity to engage in work in maybe a way that we never have before. This is a gift from the heart. It's a gift to say, I believe and I want to be a part of that change for this generation, the next generation, and for the folks who haven't even been diagnosed yet. So the types of gifts that we're looking for this campaign are gifts of $10,000 up through millions of dollars to fund these initiatives. Because this is a major giving campaign to raise new dollars for the organization. So as we've been out starting to talk to donors already, some folks get really excited, like, great, can I put on my walk team towards this? No. Walk money's already spent, right? We're doing great work already. This is about new dollars, new passion, new direction. So let's give a little update on how we've done this year so far. So this is kind of our soft year, getting used to the campaign, bringing it out. This is kind of our coming out party with all of you here. We're nearing 1.5 million new dollars already committed to this campaign. More than $9 million in campaign asks have already been made. And there are a lot of donors who are still deciding what is going to be my personally significant gift to this work. So there's many people in this room who have already said, I want to be one of those inaugural donors and step into this campaign. And I would love for all of you guys to stand up right now. Come on, let's stand it up. Come on, I know I see you guys. I'll start calling your names. Come on. There we go. Come on. Thank you. Thank you. Because this is just the start. We are going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of new donors giving to us in this way. And we are going to make this part of our ongoing dialogue of how we engage donors in our revolutionary work. So are you guys ready? Oh, wait, one more here. So for those of you who are like, wait a minute. I haven't been asked to give yet, or I haven't been asked to be involved. There is a role for everyone in the campaign. So you can champion it. Go back to your local markets, work with your volunteers, work with your staff partners and say, how do we make this our own in our markets? Donate. There's many of you in this room who will decide, yes, I'm ready. I want to give a personally significant gift to this campaign. And lastly, invite others. This has been an amazing bridge to bring folks who helped build the organization to where it is today as a reason to get back involved, for people currently involved, and who knows who we're going to bring to the table as we start making our net wider. And together, we're going to exceed our goal for our first ever, I never get tired of saying this, first ever nationwide major gifts campaign. So, you guys ready for more? All right, so how about our first ever cause marketing campaign? What do you guys think? So, in about the last 30 days, we've started to dip our toes into the water because we got the campaign kind of nailed to a point where we said, we want to go outside. And we've been talking to corporate America, ad agencies, brands, to say, hey, what might this be like? Retail stores, and I can tell you guys from the feedback we're getting, this is real and this is going to happen, okay? But to introduce our campaign, I want to invite a dear friend of the foundation. I would like to have Scott Bodine come up here. He's our agency partner that helped bring this campaign to life. And we thought, what a better way than to have Scott help us introduce it to all of you. So one of the things I loved working with Scott and his team is that nearly every single person on his team that put a fingerprint on this campaign had someone in their life with arthritis. So this was very personal to everyone, not just from our side, but also from Scott and his team's side. And Scott also is one of the experts in the industry, not only for nonprofits to bring their cause marketing campaigns and voice to life, but for corporations to determine their corporate social responsibility strategies. So we had the best and the brightest on us on this campaign. So I want Scott to share why he thinks, from his professional opinion, we are ready and the market is ready for us.
Yes. Well, you know, hi everyone. It's good to meet you. I think I've met some of you over the last couple of days. Thank you. Oh, wait. Ann and I have known each other for a while, but you know, it's interesting. When Ann got to the Arthritis Foundation, she gave me a call and said, I think we're really leaving a lot of money on the table with corporate America. And it's not the first time I've heard that from a nonprofit. As Ann said, I've worked on both sides and do work on both sides and bridge the two. If you think about the philanthropic sort of giving marketplace, $400 billion, 10% of that comes from companies. We are leaving money on the table if we're not getting inside corporate America. There's a lot of money to be had. The challenge with getting inside corporate America, businesses, brands, companies, is really making it very much not about you, but about them. And we've got to find sort of relevant points into companies about what would a partnership mean to them? How would it get them to new audiences? How would it get them to sell more? How would it get them to treat their employees better, focus on health? So those are the types of things that we really got to think about. The other thing is, if you think about sort of just in general around the boomer generation, which we know that this issue really affects, is that if you think about companies, they're only spending 10% of their marketing dollars on that audience. However, we know the size of that audience, and 50% of the consumer spending power today is 50 plus. So now you start to see the painted white space for the opportunity for the Arthritis Foundation. The other thing that Ann said to me is our issue, is our cause relevant today? And we took a 9-month journey, as Ann knows, to figure this out, and what we found is pretty interesting. And what it also did was unlock a really powerful, we think, hopefully you do too. We tested it. Everyone loves it. So hopefully you do too. But really trying to understand in terms of how do we find the relevance of our issue in America today. And what we really found was this three things I would say. Number one, most companies and brands today are focusing on quality of life for their employees, for their consumers. That is the Arthritis Foundation. The other thing that we found out is there was this really sense from when we went out and spoke to patients, when we spoke to brands, when we spoke to your current partners, when we spoke to other partners that hopefully could become prospects, is the idea that, sort of this issue is highly relevant in the marketplace today. It's the #1 cause of disability, which also tested really well. Companies really want to ensure that their employees and their consumers have the best quality of life possible. So what does all this mean? It helped us unlock a really powerful, interesting thought. If we could rally America for our cause and make it highly relevant today based on what I talked about in terms of the connectivity of quality of life, coming together to really solve this issue, we believe we have a powerful campaign that actually is going to do that. So Ann's going to show you the essence of what we came up with in terms of how we go into the consumer market, into brands, into companies, in a really powerful way.
I had pains that started in my wrists, and now were starting to run down my fingers, up my arms, and oddly, my feet were hurting too. So I went to the doctor. I found out these pains had a name: arthritis. Now I know it's only going to get worse, because when arthritis shows up, it's here to stay. Not sure people really know how serious a disease it is. Fact is, arthritis doesn't just change your life, it can end it, literally. But I found out, while asking why me, feeling alone, that I was actually one of 54 million, young, old, and in between. And we all just want the same thing, to wake up every day, happy, hopeful, that today would be a good day. So I got to thinking, if all 54 million of us, plus all our friends and loved ones, wanted to, together, we could be way bigger than arthritis. I like that idea. Don't you? Let's get a grip on arthritis.
Still gives me chills. And we tested that video, and it really tested strongly, which means it resonated not only to the patient audience, but it resonated to the consumer audience, which is what we're after, right? We need to get America behind this, consumers behind this, by the brands that they purchase or by the companies they associate with. And so our cause is really about that. It's about creating a movement with the American public through consumer purchase or consumer relationships with brands and companies to drive more revenue to the organization for the mission. We believe the purpose of all this is, based on our research, we have to get this issue out of the shadows, of the shame, and this understanding it's part of the aging process, and we really need to start to connect it to the idea of quality of life. So really the purpose for us is to get it out of the shadows. And then in terms of the effect, we want to bring the nation together through consumers, through brands, as well as the American public to really come together to solve this once and for all. With numbers like 1 in 4, 54 million Americans, we need to wake up. And it was interesting on this idea of let's get a grip. As a lot of you know, it was a little bit contentious in terms of, is that pejorative? Should we use that? But everybody that we talked to through the research and also meetings understood that felt communal. It felt like a community coming together to solve this issue. So it tested really strongly.
So as we tested it with consumers, because remember, we wanted it to be rooted so it would resonate with companies and brands, look at these numbers. And I know some of you that were probably in the Partnership Learning Lab yesterday saw some of these as well, because I think this information also has a halo effect. As we talk about why should companies and get involved with our events in our markets, or how to recruit a new board member in, these really carry pretty broadly. But what's exciting about these and the relevance is, through this campaign, they said it was relevant and attention-getting, right? We wanted to be a little disruptive. People go, I gotta stop and take a look at this, right? They learned something new about arthritis. We can raise the awareness. What happens? Drives more people to our website, drives more people to our communities. Likely to buy a product over another product. 1 in 4, 1 in every household. We got a lot of buying power, guys. Imagine if we rally that buying power for our purpose. And most importantly, something a company cannot buy is what customers perceive them as. And 90% said they would perceive a company better. So what I'd like for Scott to do now is we have some examples of maybe how could this campaign come to life in the market. I want to preface this with, these are not our partners. They are not signed. They are just examples so that you guys can start wrapping your mind around the vision of where we want to go with this campaign.
That's why we love this campaign. And most of us know Komen for a Cure. If anybody doesn't, raise your hand. No, I won't single you out. Well, what I've loved about, and I worked on that many years ago, but what I love about the model of that consumer cause marketing campaign is it's a construct that you can see any brand latching onto, and here's what I mean by that. If I'm B&W, I'm going to offer test drives, drive for a cure, right? If I'm KitchenAid, I'm going to do a cook for the cure. What we love about Let's Get a Grip is it allows many companies and brands to partner with us without having the connectivity of just arthritis alone. It could be quality of life. Cheerios, what you're seeing behind me is a great example. What is more relevant to our cause than children, especially through the camps? What do children wake up with every morning? Cereal. Imagine we go into Cheerios and we ask them to, for every box that opens in the morning, $1 will be raised for Let's Get a Grip on Arthritis. Open a box of Cheerios and let's get a grip on arthritis. So Tide is another example. Again, as Ann pointed out, Tide is not a partner, but you could see the aspiration and the interest in terms of Let's Get a Grip. We understand the challenges that people with arthritis have simply by doing everyday tasks like laundry and opening the Tide bottle. Well, what if we could go to them and say, brighten up your day, right, with Tide, and brighten others' days up as well. Or Honda, another great example in terms of putting this disease in the rearview mirror. So you can start to see with this construct of Let's Get a Grip with Arthritis, we don't have to just stay in a pain category or a health category. We can broaden this through quality of life relevance and actually have a lot of brands latch onto our cause and support our mission.
So you're thinking, so what's next? Well, as I mentioned, we've already started talking to some companies, and what we know is for 2018, we will have some brands activating in the marketplace. But we're really looking for a big launch in 2019, because retail stores' timeline, they're already starting the plan. So as we're talking to retail, we're talking about 19. So we're going to have retail and celebrities, and I'm going to stop. We're going to hold back some of the secrets here. But I think, Scott, maybe this is time to share some of our good news already.
Well, we got to show proof of concept. We're here raving about this campaign. Let's show it.
So we do have two partners that just in the last couple of weeks we started talking with them, and they signed on immediately. These are folks who have never worked with us before. This is more than six-figure commitment. This is a six-figure commitment from each of them. Brand new, and some of you are going to be like, I got to go Google these. Who the heck are these folks, right? But that's exactly what we want is, I'm surprised they're involved with arthritis, because you know what, guys? We are 1 in 4 consumers. Everyone should be involved with us, and that's how we built this campaign. So I would really like to thank Scott for being such a good friend to the foundation, and can we just give him a huge, warm Arthritis Foundation thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right, so are you guys ready for even more new stuff? All right, how about some digital fundraising? So I know this never happens in a market or never happens to a volunteer where someone comes up to you and says, hey, I got this great idea for a fundraiser. And I want to do this. And then we say, well, we've got JBR, we've got Walk, we've got Marquee. Let's figure this out. So would it be helpful if you could then respond and say, well, that's great. What's your idea? And how would you like us to be able to provide you a free online fundraising website to do that? And maybe some templated material so you could print it off and hang it up in your church or your workplace. And, just have it super turnkey and you can do whatever you want, whatever your passion might be. Is that something you think we could use? All right. So what that's called is DIY fundraising or do-it-yourself fundraising. And what's interesting around these fundraisers is that they're more socially savvy. They tend to actually raise more in one of their do-it-themselves events than like an average team does in one of our events or even a gala table, because they're bringing together their community and what's relevant to them. So what we know is that as we go to market with this, we have to have a really relevant kind of brand. So right now we're getting ready to do focus groups with patients and young adults and external folks to make sure we nail what our product is, because we're going to launch it by March of 2018. And we thought today might be a great day to take the passion in this room and let's do our own focus group. Are you guys game to help me out to say which campaign should we go with? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put concept 1 up and explain it to you, concept 2 and explain it to you, and then I'm going to put them up side by side, and we're going to use a highly scientific method that our mission team uses all the time to drive our outcomes, and we're going to clap and cheer, okay? There's Cindy and Emily are like, oh my God, that's not how we do it. Yes, I know. That's how we do it in the fundraising world, though. No, I'm kidding. So, you guys ready? Okay, so concept 1. It all starts with one person, and that person could be you. You have personal reasons for conquering arthritis, and you're interested in raising funds that benefits the Arthritis Foundation's life-changing work. One really can do wonders by raising money that advances arthritis advocacy, research, and support. Whether it's a little or a lot, every dollar counts. Then, in the digital space, folks could go in, and depending on the type of event they want to do, if they're going to make their own event, so say Anna's like, I'm going to open up my New York loft, and I'm going to invite all my friends over, and they have to make a donation online before they come, whatever you want your event to be, right? Move, I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. You can use that as your avenue. Celebrate. Instead, you know, a lot of folks like to give gifts instead of give donations at a wedding or do something in tribute or however you want to celebrate in your life. And imagine little toolkits behind each one of those, okay? So now here's concept number 2. You want to raise money that will help stop arthritis. To honor that warrior in your life, maybe even yourself, will help you rally the troops and fight for a cure. Together, we can be unstoppable against arthritis. Now, the concept is similar here as well, but it's a little different. If you notice, the kind of make your own event is make a ruckus, you know, and maybe Matt will do the same thing. He's going to make a ruckus event, something crazy with him and his friends. Train, again, climb Mount Kilimanjaro, whatever you'd like to do. Party on the front lines, wedding, tribute, whatever you might want to be. So you see there's a little bit of a nuance in how you bring these campaigns to life. So you guys ready to vote? All right, so I want to hear cheering and clapping. I'm going to do concept 1 and concept 2, and we're going to see. You guys ready? All right. Who thinks that our best idea would be concept 1? All right. Who thinks it might be concept 2? All right. So, as a very scientific data person here, I'm going to go with concept 2 is the feedback here. And we're going to take that and we're going to mush it in with all of the other focus groups, which will be a little bit more scientific than this. But we just didn't want to miss the opportunity to have a little fun with all of you. So look for that to come by the end of March next year. But there's something here that we don't have to really wait for. Now, we just talked about all these new things, and we have this great core strength in our special events, which interestingly enough, we raise about 1/3 of them in JBR, 1/3 of it in marquee events, and 1/3 of it in Walk to Cure Arthritis. And for the first time this year, we did nationwide participant surveys. And did you know that the #1 request from JBR participants, the #1 request from Walk participants, the #1 request from the staff in this room, and the #1 request from the volunteers in this room were all the same? And that was, get a new online fundraising system. So, we are thrilled to announce that that is done, that is launched, it's out there. If you have not gone to see it, to register for Walk already, after the conference, we're going to be launching it to the wider Walk audience. We will never have to use that system we had again, ever. But what is exciting is that the new system is modern, it's mobile friendly, iPad, phone, doesn't matter, you'll be able to use it anywhere. There's more room for digital toolkits so we can help people be better fundraisers and explain the mission more. And in our local markets and our local events, more real-time reporting and ways to better communicate so you can drive the fundraising. So I only have one request left around this for everybody. Now we have to leverage it to engage more people than ever and more dollars than ever, because we have a tool that will help us do that. Do you think we can do that? So as we're also thinking about special events, our special events, what's beautiful about them, they can happen in large markets, small markets, medium markets, all over the place. And we recognize that it takes a community of individuals with arthritis, a community of committee and sponsors and everyone coming together. So we'd like to talk to you a little bit about the Events of Excellence. It's a national recognition, and every event in the whole country is eligible for it, The only criteria is that your event grows in your commitment to fight arthritis every year, which means you exceed last year's fundraising totals, you exceed having a little bit more people involved with your events, you grow your social footprint, all the things that we want as an organization. And then we're gonna scream from the rooftops and give you tools that say you are a national event of excellence, and that'll be on your website, on the back of your t-shirts, on your event posters, and you'll get recognition at Conference of Champions. So we realize that all communities of all sizes can step in to fight arthritis in bigger and bolder ways, and this is one of the ways to recognize a market regardless of how big they are. So I'm going to spend a moment just on JBR, Marquee, and Walk, because they are a core strength of ours. And when we talk about innovation and we talk about a vision of maybe doubling our revenue, the special events play a role in that perspective as well. So in JBR, we know we are the longest 5K series in the country, longest running 5K series. We also know we're only 10 events away to be able to say we're also the largest 5K series in the country. So yes, I am begging for 10 more locations next year, guys, okay? But what that does is running is a competitive field now. And so we're looking at where do we fit in the competitive nature, because most of our runners say, they don't really know anyone with arthritis, which we know is false, which means we just have to take them on a journey to explain that. But it's a great acquisition vehicle for us to bring more people into the family. The other thing is we have enough sponsorship to cover our expenses that we can talk about JBR being that a participant, their registration fee and their donations go 100% to the charity. So our other races might promote they're a charity race, we can actually say everything you do goes back to fight arthritis. So those are really powerful proof points that we're going to continue to evolve and grow in the program. As we think about our marquee events, and our marquee events are those events that we customize to the flavor of our communities all over the country. And we've been really looking at them, and one of our ahas, there's a lot of things you're going to be seeing from marquee events in 18, but one of them is, if we just had a Fund the Cure at every marquee event, we would probably be raising $1 million more today than we were yesterday. And I know for sure that our mission folks and our research folks and our advocacy folks could say, oh yeah, Ann, I could spend that money, right? And all we need to do is make it a little bit more relevant. Talk a little bit about, it takes $1,300 to send one child to camp. So how fun would it be to say, how many kids are we sending to camp? Having really relevant research. So we're going to work and we're going to evolve that, and we know that we could be bringing in a lot more to fund the organization just by that one little enhancement. Now let's talk about Walk to Cure Arthritis. The world's largest gathering for arthritis. Do you ever think about Walk that way? It's true. Walk to Cure Arthritis is the world's largest gathering around arthritis. What a way to position that, right? What a way to talk about that. What a way to say, oh my goodness, this is where Walk fits. This is our vision for Walk. And we've done a lot of focus groups, especially with Walk this year, talking to teams that did not come back, that were family teams with arthritis, teams that are gung-ho, teams that have never, families that are working with us that have never registered. And you know what all that told us? Is it told us that they want Walk to be a place to recognize everyone who has arthritis. And they want to see that more prominent in the event. They want it to be a place that welcomes, and I think Ann mentioned this in her opening words, a place to welcome the newly diagnosed and do what Matt said, sorry that you've joined the arthritis family, but we are going to embrace you and be at the world's largest gathering for arthritis. They want to raise the funds, and they want to see the mission and the purpose and all of that tied together. So some of the things that you'll see as we go into Walk season this year is there's a new role on the committee called Arthritis Warriors. And we're going to be very intentional around engaging more people with arthritis into our walks. That role is also going to build a committee that's going to do recognition at the walk so that we're recognizing everyone with arthritis, our arthritis warriors at the walk. And yes, we did test that with patients all over the place, and that was the name that they liked the best. And we're going to have a place that when newly diagnosed or first-timers, it might just be a sign that says, is this your first time here? Go find Colleen, and we're just going to replicate Colleen at all the events across the country, right? But a place where they go because they want walk to be a home. They want walk to be a passion. They want to raise a lot of money, but we have to engage more. And let's ramp up the volume on the world's largest gathering for arthritis. So as we think about our year and how we fundraise, I just love this visual. It kind of keeps me centered. And what's one of the most brilliant things that I think the Arthritis Foundation has built is this really balanced calendar. We could have a marketplace presence year-round everywhere in this country just based on how our events fall and our camps fall. And if that is the one thing that will help us do everything we've talked about today, this weekend in our stories and increasing our revenue, increasing our mission impact, is walk in May, JBR in the fall, a marquee event, educational activities. All of that keeps our volume up around arthritis in the marketplace. So we'll be looking at how do we grow our existing events? How do we expand? Yes, I'm using the E word. How do we expand in our special events? But then as you look at the dark green, the bottom line, what are the new things and the evolutionary things that we are doing? Add to that a major gifts campaign, bringing donors to us in a different way. Add our cause marketing campaign, adding air cover and new people into our organization. And then we still have some of our core strengths around plan giving and direct marketing, arthritis.org, and imagine a system where they're helping feed new names and individuals into our markets as well. And then DIY for all of the do-it-yourself in today's world, how people want things my way now, customized, to engage with us. So right now, we're a $78 million organization. I think it's clear that we definitely have the building blocks in place to double our revenue and become that $140 million organization. And I know for me, this is definitely where purpose meets passion. And I might also say where passion meets purpose. So thank you very much for your time today.
Wow, it's really fantastic. Not about you, but I'm pretty inspired. Pretty inspired about the things that we're doing, the things that are coming, the things that are here right now. I want to take a little bit of time, walk you through where we're going to go the rest of the day. But first, let me again thank Anna and Ann for starting us off on such a great way today. Let you in on a little secret. Anna is going to be back here with us this afternoon, sharing with us her delightful talents. So make sure you come back. And congratulations again to all of our winners, all of those who are inspiring us each and every day to be champions of yes. So let me tell you what we're doing for the next couple of hours. Supposed to start in just a few minutes, but I'm going to make an executive decision. At 10:10, okay, 10:10, we need to be able to get up and walk. Ann's giving me the stare. People need to get up and walk, so, all right, 10:07. I'd like you to be next door in Acamel 1 and 2. And what we're going to be doing is what we're calling our skill share sessions. They're interactive sessions, hands-on, small group discussions, from recruiting more volunteers to capitalizing our efforts through social media. Each person, everyone here, is going to select 3 skill share sessions. There's no need to sign up, just show up. 25 minutes, volunteers will exchange information and insights about the topic until being signaled to move on. The Skillshare session topics are listed in the conference app and on your pocket agenda. And if you are enjoying the networking that is happening here, as much as I am, and if you haven't already, or if you have, pull out that Live Yes app If you haven't downloaded it, please go ahead to your app store and download it. Keep the idea sharing going in the forums in the community section. And remember, everyone who downloads it can go and get one of these pop sockets for your own phone. It's a wonderful little tool. Put it on the back of your phone. And so if you haven't downloaded it, please go do so during the break, and then go visit the registration area and pick up a pop socket. And we also have staff floating around the digital lounge that can help you answer questions you might have about it. I look forward to seeing you again at noon as we come together for our closing session and for lunch. And we are very, very excited that we will have our special guests, Andrea Avery, author of Sonata, a memoir of pain and the piano, and classical pianist, maestro Byron Janis, who will be joining us then. So look forward to seeing you then.